Hello, everybody. This is Brian Ankney with Auto Success Magazine. Yeah, I'd really like to thank you all for taking the time to join us today for this presentation. Today, my guest is Mark Vickery from VinSolutions, and we're going to talk about how the CRM improves customer experience in the car buying process. It's kind of funny and ironic. I actually bought a car for my wife last night, and the CRM definitely helped make the process very quick and easy. It wasn't the first car I bought from that dealership group, but yeah, they had all my information. It was very speedy. I mean, it took me longer to test drive the car than to buy the car. A couple of things I'd like to go over before we get started today. First of all, if you haven't joined Auto Success Webinars, the group on Facebook, please do. It's a great place to interact with our speakers, with our Auto Success staff, and most importantly, with each other. I invite you to share, your successes and failures as you try to improve, in the group, so we can all improve a little faster. We're going to hold all the questions today until the end of the webinar. Depending on what type of device you have, it'll work a little bit differently. If you're on a computer, tablet, laptop, it's very simple. There's a pane down the right side of your screen. Near the bottom of that pane, it says questions. There's a little arrow you click, you type in the question, you hit enter, and your questions are sent in. Now, if you're on a smartphone or some other type of mobile device, it's a little bit more tricky. You either have a header, a footer, or a picture frame around your screen, and somewhere on there is a question mark. You touch that question mark, and it'll open up an area for you to type in your question. Now, some devices you can swipe and it goes away. Other devices you have to locate an icon that kind of looks like a flat screen monitor, and you click that, it'll take you back to the webinar. Now, just in case, for some reason you get, kicked out of the webinar or you get interrupted and you want to come back to the webinar, the same phone number and code that you used will bring you right back in, and the same link that you used to join will bring you right back in. So with that being said, I would like to introduce Mark and turn the reins over to him. Mark, please take us away.
All right, Brian, thank you very much. I appreciate the introduction and the exciting instructions on how to send questions, although I encourage none of you to do so. I'm just kidding. I do hope that we can make some good use of this time together, and appreciate all of you taking time out of your day to join this Auto Success webinar. And I hope that you get something out of it, and hopefully we'll have a little bit of fun here over the next little bit. So we're going to focus on how we can use the CRM to improve the customer experience in the car buying process. So what are some things that we can do, focus on, and like all things CRM, I often say that I don't know that anybody is learning anything new, but I do believe that we have an opportunity here today to refocus some attention on some things that we already knew and that we can probably do better and execute better to get better results, to, in this particular case, I think, satisfy more of our customers and give them a better experience, which I got to tell you, I think that's the real name of the game today. I think that our customers, we focus on speed sometimes too much. We say they just want a fast process, and maybe they do. And for those people that do, we better be able to deliver that. But somebody might want to test drive every car you have, and they're going to be there all day. And we ought to be able to deliver that too. So whatever experience they want, I want us to be able to deliver that. So that's kind of the theme of what we're going to do here today, and let's dive in. So we're going to start off and talk a little bit about some data on the car buying experience today. How maybe the CRM can help us improve on that, and 4 things that you can do right now that might give you some enhanced results. And I think it's important to keep in mind, the CRM kind of has a before and after benefit. On the one hand, we use the CRM to get the customer to the dealership in the first place, right? And we all know that. And whether it be an internet lead or a phone up or whatever, we're using the processes that fire out of the CRM really to get them there in the first place. But then I think we need to be able to take the data we've collected in that CRM to craft and deliver the experience in a personalized way once they arrive. So, so there's where we're headed. So AutoTrader did a study last year, the Car Buyer of the Future study, they called it, and it showed that 17 out of 4,002 respondents reported that they liked the car buying process that they had recently gone through. So that's less than 1%. Clearly that's not good. I mean, these are 4,002 people that bought a car, and 17 of them said that they enjoyed the process. I think, to me, that demonstrates an area of opportunity that our industry has to deliver a better experience. And oh boy, Mark, thanks. You're another guy that's going to tell us we need to make things better for our customer. And yeah, that's a little bit old hat probably, but what does frustrate the customer? So, you're going to hear things like it takes too much time, it's stressful, customer doesn't feel like they're being heard, and I think it does oftentimes take too much time. It is. We add steps that are unnecessary today, and I think we need to take a look at our own internal road to the sale to ensure that we're being as efficient as possible. But I don't think we can forget that today, no different than 50 years ago, it's a stressful time buying a car. It's an expensive purchase. They don't do it every day. There's a lot of choices, and they've probably gone through a whole series of kind of internal decisions before they ever showed up at the dealership. So it's stressful, and they want to be heard. When we make them feel like, we're not listening to them, it just makes them feel not so great, right? And one of the biggest failures we do, and this is where the CRM, I believe, can step in and help, is we don't translate what they've done with us digitally to them physically when they're in our store. So if they've filled out forms like a credit app, and the first thing we do is make them fill out a paper credit app, I mean, how does that make you feel? We've probably got the credit app in the CRM. We're just making them fill out a paper one because that's what we do. Okay, so we're going to talk some more about that later. But the more that we can demonstrate to them that we've heard what they've told us, I think the better that makes them feel. And again, we'll get into that a little bit more down the road here. So these are just stats, just percentages. I didn't make them up though. They're from that same Car Buyer of the Future study. And in that study, 54% of people said they were interested in buying from a dealership that delivered to them their preferred experience, even if they didn't have the lowest price. 73% said they'd go out of their way to buy from a great salesperson. So great salespeople have always trumped lowest price. But how about this experience thing? 54% of these people said if they just give me what I want in terms of how I want to go about buying this car, I'd even be willing to pay more money for that. And I never know what that means exactly, but I believe that to be true. I think that people want to do business the way that they want to. The internet has allowed them to think that they have that power. So, more stats. I'm not a big stat guy, I got to tell you. And I don't know this first one, 1.7 dealerships are visited before buying. I don't know if that's right. If y'all have seen that number before, right? But it's probably been a different number. I've seen 1.3 and 1.6 and 1.8. So I don't know what the right number is. It seems like every time somebody does a study, it's a different point number, right? Here's what I do believe. It's less than 2. And what a big shift from 15 years ago or even 10 years ago. We can all agree that the days of Mr. and Mrs. Customer jumping in their buggy and driving all over town all day on Saturday and going from dealership to dealership to dealership and learning about their car purchase are over. People just don't do that anymore. That's not how they shop, because they're spending an enormous amount of time online before they ever leave their house or their office. This study tells us that it's 13 hours on average people spend online. That's a lot of time. I mean, you can see a lot of website pages in 13 hours, can't you? So what are they doing? They're evaluating their trade-in value. They're checking out insurance and interest rates, and of course they're looking at cars and reviews and all that jazz, right? They're looking at your website, your manufacturer website, and third-party websites, and on and on and on. So look, people aren't going to less than 2 dealerships because they're less picky. They're doing that because all of that education they're able to do in advance. And so, I think that executing a consistent process from stem to stern is just more important than ever. And I think what I see a lot with our dealers all across North America is that we tend to segment and silo the activity. There's a lot of dealers that are guilty of looking at sort of the CRM activity, we'll call it, as one thing that happens, and then the showroom activity as another thing that happens. Now, of course, technically that's not inaccurate, but we've got to blend the two together. If we take the customer through a traditional car selling process, when they get there, after we've spent maybe weeks or sometimes months getting them to come in the first place, not good, and so we've got to be prepared to honor and recognize that the 13 hours that customer spent online was worthwhile, so they'll only visit 1 dealership and not 2. All right, so let's remember that your connection, your conduit to the customer is the CRM. That's all you got. You got the CRM and your own talents and abilities to get those people into the store. Okay, and I think that it is. Sometimes it's easy, right? But we've got to use our ability to collect information on the customer, and it's not just email address and phone number, is it? It's the things they tell me when we talk on the phone. It's all of the interactions I'm having. I'm learning something every time I interact with them. I know what kind of car they want. Maybe now I know what color they want. Maybe now I know why they want a new car, or what they're trading in, or why they're trading it in, or who's going to drive it. All of those things, those are all things, if some of you old-timers like me can think back to the old days when we didn't have an internet, that's all the information we tried to cultivate from them when they first got to the dealership. We'd interview them. We'd do a needs discovery, right? We called it. We'd try to learn where do they work and how's their credit and all those things, right? Well, we've gotten a lot of that organically throughout the process they've gone through before they came in. Okay, so your conduit, your connection to the customer is that CRM, and beautifully, it logs all of that for you. So let's talk about 4 specific ways that I would suggest to you the CRM can improve the customer experience. And to me, let's think about this as ways that we can leverage the CRM to sort of both add personalization to the process and really efficiency to your customers' interactions. And I think the word efficiency we use a lot. I think it's the key to our industry in the next few years in order to be profitable, we're going to have to operate more efficiently, and we've got to process our customers more efficiently so that they're satisfied and they keep wanting to do business with us. So what's the first thing? And we'll spend a little bit of time on this. Let's make it personal. So if you think back to when the internet first kind of came along in our business, first of all, not every dealer had a website back then, and when they did, we didn't know how to put any attention into it, and it was not a particularly good source of information, and we certainly didn't know how to answer the leads, but we got good at it fast. But speed was the only thing that mattered. What's your response time? That was the number one and maybe only metric that mattered to us on how we managed internet leads. And I know some of the people on this call, know just how important everything else is now. We've learned a lot over the years, and our customers have gotten more demanding also. Bottom line is, we have a need to personalize this interaction. I don't know that was the case 10 years ago or 8 years ago. I think just the fact that we responded to them at all separated us from many of our competitors. I don't think that's true today. I think we've got to be personal, and I don't have any issue with automated emails. Our CRM tool, VinSolutions, sends out automated emails. Hell, we could send one out every 15 minutes if you want to. I just ask us to be thoughtful about how we're using automation. They're buying a car, and just because we're interacting with them in an online kind of way doesn't mean that we can't make it personal. I think that's a real important thing for all of us to sort of look within and ask, how personal are we making this effort? So I'm going to suggest to you that quality is far more important than speed. We've got to read the lead. What are we doing, and what are we responding to, and why? I can't tell you, and do your own secret shopping in your own store. Send out a price quote lead form, and then put some kind of a question in the comments. Can I trade in a motorcycle for this car? I've got 2 cars I want to trade in. Is that okay? Do you have a blue one? And see if that question gets answered at all. I'm going to tell you that all too often those types of questions aren't answered at all. And oftentimes it's because we're in such a hurry to turn off that clock for the manufacturer that we're not taking the time to read the lead, that we're not taking the time to really deliver to them the information that they want. And a good quality response to any email is far more important than speed. And I'm going to tell you, speed's important, okay? I can't take a couple of days to craft my email. but quality trumps it. So if you respond in 2 minutes with an automated template price quote, and I respond in 20 minutes with an answer to their questions and a price quote, I'll win. I'll win in the long run. I almost said, any questions? You all are on mute. By the way, you should all know, so you'll feel sorry for me, that this format is really hard because I can't see any of you rolling your eyes, and I know some of the people that are on this call are definitely rolling their eyes. So that's frustrating. So what I'm going to ask you to do is to know when to automate. I mean, look, if we're sending a 1-year anniversary email since they bought a car, great opportunity to automate. If we are responding to some customer that sent us in a lead 3 weeks ago and hasn't responded to anything we've sent all we got was the original lead. Okay, send them some automated email templates. Now, I would ask you to review and look at your templates. I don't know that I want to just make it obvious that they're getting a template. I mean, maybe it's a, 2-paragraph note instead of a full page of information, right? But those are examples where, of course, let's use that automation to contact as many people as we can today, right? But look, if I'm early in the process and I'm still collecting information, or I'm prospecting a customer that I really believe is ready to buy, I don't know that that's an automated email. I've got to leverage that data that I'm collecting, and the best way for me to collect it is to be personal in the way I send it. All right, so knock twice if you've heard this before. So if we're going to use the CRM to more efficiently deal with our customers, if we're going to use the CRM to improve the car buying process for our customers, well, then we have to get every interaction into the CRM in the first place. And if maybe after getting the customer in the CRM, logging every interaction is probably the second biggest sin that we see dealer after dealer after dealer. What interactions don't get logged? Pause for dramatic effect, since you all are on mute. Phone calls, right? Do all your phone calls get into your CRM? I'll bet they don't. So why aren't they? Every time somebody calls you, every time we talk to somebody on the phone, haven't we collected something that might be helpful? Something that I can come back to later and utilize when I really am trying to sell them a car because I've got them on the lot, or when I really am trying to close them up on an appointment and I can remember something we talked about 10 days ago or 3 days ago. I don't know about you guys. Maybe I'm just old. But I don't remember what I had for breakfast. I darn sure don't remember what Mr. and Mrs. Customer and I talked about 10 days ago, okay? We've got to get everything into the CRM. Around here, we say if it's not in VIN, it's a sin. So if you can think of something bad that rhymes with your CRM's name, go for it, okay? But it's about creating a culture that if it's not in the CRM, it didn't happen. Hey, boss, I talked to those people 2 days ago. No, you didn't. Well, yeah, I did. No, you didn't, because I'm looking in the CRM right now, and I don't see a phone call in there. So clearly that did not happen, okay? You've got to create that culture. You simply can't use what you don't have. And if we don't get it into the CRM in the first place, well, then we absolutely can't use it. All right, so we have an opportunity to be efficient simply by being prepared. And so this may sound like sort of a redo of get everything into the CRM, and maybe it is, okay? But if your approach is to just sell them when they show up, you're missing out, okay? And here's, I'm pretty proud to be in the car business. Everything I have in life, I owe to the car business in one form or another. And I'm proud I'm bullish on car guys. I love car salesmen. And I believe there's one thing we're still good at. We're still good at selling cars, okay? But if we're just going to sell them when they show up, that's not the way to do it nowadays. And I think we all know that. The more prepared you are helps you to be efficient. And what does efficiency do? Well, that makes it easier on us, but it makes it easier on our customer too, right? So What happens when they get there? We've been interacting with them for days or weeks or months. They finally agreed to come in. What happens when they get there? Because if 5-car Fred ups them out of the lot and starts grilling them on what they're here to see, why they're here to see it, what they're trading in, you kidding me? I've been talking to somebody about that for 2 weeks. Why are you asking me those questions? We've got to have a process to early demonstrate to them that we were listening to all the stuff we were getting from them as they went through that process with us. And that, I'm not going to tell you that you've got to have the car pulled around up front before they get there. So it's nice and cool in the summer and nice and warm in the winter. I guess, that's be the best thing, but for a bigger volume store, that's probably not reasonable, practical, or frankly even possible, okay? But it's not going to kill us if we say, hey, Mr. Customer, you're here to see the Taurus, right? And you're trading in the Camry, correct? Do you have that with you? I've already got your credit app. I mean, just those types of things demonstrate to them already that we're ready for them. That those conversations mattered, and we were listening. So, analyze, look at, understand what process does that customer go through when they slam their car and park and walk into the building. Who's greeting them? Who's looking them up in the CRM? Who's prepared for them? And are we ready? And I got news for you. We've got a bunch of dealers at VinSolutions. There's a lot of dealers that are getting really, really good at this, and there's a lot of people that need a lot of help with it too. So this remains, I believe, an opportunity to gain a significant competitive advantage over the guy down the street. All right, is everybody having fun? I know I am. All right, step number 4. Ask yourself, how much effort, how much work, how much want to am I putting into this effort to help this customer? Because if the answer isn't a lot, then I got room to grow. If all I'm doing is checking boxes, you're going to get the people that you're really desperate to come in and buy a car. They'll all come in. You're all a Ford dealer, or Toyota dealer, or Chevy dealer, or whatever. And so then maybe they come in and give you a shot no matter how you treat them. But if you don't think you're putting legitimate effort into the process, then you're not doing enough. And how do you define effort? First off, am I looking them up in the CRM when I greet them? So am I relearning what I collected from them, what information I got from them? Do I remind myself that they're buying this car for little Susie, who's going off to college in a couple of months, or whatever? If I'm not putting in effort, I'm missing the boat. And by the way, I believe that stretches into really everything we do with the customer journey, right? If you ever listen to your people and the messages they leave for customers, because I have, and sometimes they're really bad. I'm not sure I'm going to be real anxious to call that guy back, right? Put in extra effort. It sounds corny, and maybe it probably is, okay? But you're only going to be as good as the time and effort you put into something. And effort is tied to results. I believe that applies to maybe everything in life. The reason it's, to me, critically important for what we're talking about here today is it's easy to do this job without effort. It's easy to just check the box, just push send, that's easy. It's how many email templates go out, on Wednesday, when on Tuesday the customer sent me an email and said, hey, this all sounds good, Mark. We'd like to come in sometime this weekend and take a test drive. And on Wednesday, we send them a note asking them if they're still interested in a car. Not good, right? That's not putting in effort. All right. So what are some extra those 4 things that I hope, at least one of them has made each of you think about something you can improve internally that brings about some results for you? Well, number 1, when's the last time you sat down, if you're a GM, or you sat down with a GM, if you're not, and reviewed your processes? When's the last time you really took a critical eye and looked at every process in the CRM? You've probably got an new internet lead process. You've probably got a sold customer process. You've probably got an appointment process, a BBAC process, an unsold showroom visitor process. You probably got all those things in your CRM. When's the last time you looked at them? Because if it wasn't within the last about 5 or 6 months, you need to do that. Because here's the deal. If you don't believe that your processes are right, if you don't believe that the cadence in that process is correct, well, that means your people don't believe it either. And guess what they're probably doing? They're probably not religiously following the process. Or maybe even worse, they are, but it's the wrong process because it's from 5 years ago and we haven't updated it. Okay? Review the process. You've got to believe this is the right process. If you don't, well, then change it and make it something you do believe in. And then, by the way, let's do that process with every customer, every lead, every time, every day. Easily the biggest CRM failure there is we don't even know what processes are firing in the first place. Okay? And then get everybody in to the CRM in the first place. If we don't get them in, guess what? We don't get to take advantage of those awesome processes we've created. And then, big deal here, communicate to your team what's expected of them and maybe why it's expected of them and how it benefits them. And that, we're not making a suggestion. We're not saying if you get around to it. We're telling them this is what we do with our customers, with our internet leads, with our phone calls every time. And if you want to work here, then that's what you're going to do. And then manage to those expectations. By all means, hold people accountable. If there's overdue tasks, why? Maybe I've got crummy processes I need to adjust, okay? But if I believe in the processes and they're right, well, then I got to do them or they for sure won't work. And people want to be held accountable. I know I do. I mean, I want to know what's expected of me so I can go do it, and if I don't do it and someone doesn't ask me why the heck I didn't do it, it seems weird, You tell your kids to go clean the room. If they don't clean their room, you don't do anything to them. What have you taught them? It means when Dad tells me to clean my room, it's clearly an optional piece of advice. Well, our CRM can't be that way. We've got to hold people accountable. We've got to make sure our people understand how they're supposed to do it, why they're supposed to do it, and how it benefits them. How was that? Was that passionate enough for you? All right, so Some key takeaways maybe: listen to your customer. Connect that digital to the physical lot. If they've given us information, by goodness sakes, let's use that information when they get there, and then leverage the CRM to pull out all of that data so that we can give that customer the best and most efficient process that they want. All right, Brian Ankney. If anybody's still awake, why don't you see if there's any questions out there, and we'll try and come up with some answers.
Fantastic. Yeah, actually, Mark, that was a great presentation. We do have some questions for you. I love your comment about the effort in the results. I think I'm going to have to start implementing that in my gym workouts. Maybe I'm not giving enough effort. But yeah, we've got several questions already in, and everybody on the call, please type them in, as we go. And so here, the first question, Mark, is: should we trust the CRM data 100% or verify with the customer when they come in?
Well, okay. I think that's a reasonable question, a good question. And I would tell you that verifying it, I think, is, of course, okay, mainly because things have changed. But so long as you verify what's in the CRM in a way that makes it clear to them that your understanding is they want this. Your understanding is you want that. You told me that you wanted this thing. Is that still true? Versus, why are you here? What do you want? Why do you want it? What? I already told you all that shit. So provided we're literally verifying what they've already told us, I think it's a great idea. And frankly, I think it's a great way to demonstrate to them that you were listening to them.
Okay. Actually, we got a question coming in about this webinar being available from somebody that joined us a little bit late. Yes, absolutely, it will be. Just if you see Mark's email address up on the screen, just send him an email, and he'll be able to get that to you later today or tomorrow. Let's move on to our next question. Should we use personal interest in emails or just live interactions? If so, how personal without being creepy?
So if I understand, read it again, Brian.
Okay. It says, should we use personal interests in emails or just live interactions? If so, how personal without being creepy?
Okay, so the word creepy makes me think the question is coming from a place that if you've cultivated some information on your own, should you use it? I guess I'm just an old man. I think that's creepy. Okay. Can I use what I've learned on Facebook or LinkedIn or something to benefit me and help me understand the customer? I think I can. But some lady comes into my dealership who I've never met before, and all she's told me is she wants a Camry, and I start asking about her daughter that plays soccer, and she's 10, because I was checking her out online. I'm not sure that's going to go over well with most people.
Okay. Actually, here's another question. What would separate a dealer from the pack for a first response? What are the best voicemails to leave?
Well, good question. Well, first of all, you'll separate yourself from the pack if you directly answer what they seek. If your first initial response, and I'm not talking auto response. I mean, I think everybody is used to an auto response, and we get it on lots of things that we do, right? But if your first real email to them is a total automated 4-car quote or something, and you've got no text in there about specifically what they've asked for, then you're behind. You've got to be thoughtful in answering their direct questions. So I think that's the first thing. And the phone message piece, it's I would just ask you to walk by your people when they're making phone calls and just stand back and listen to the messages. I mean, you are going to hear, hey, this is Mark from ABC Chevrolet. I'm following up on the lead you sent us the other day. Just want to see if you're still interested. Please call me, 555-1212 versus, hey, this is Mark at ABC Chevrolet. Hey, you sent me a request for some information on that Taurus a couple of days ago. I haven't heard from you. I've sent you a couple of emails. Maybe they've gone to spam or, some other folder and you haven't seen them, but I'm really anxious to help you. Please give me a call, yada, 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 is more likely to get a phone call back. I think we could all agree. And all of you can probably do that message better than me, but I'm going to tell you that first message, we see it and hear it all the time.
Okay. Mark, how frequently should we contact sold customers, and should we use personal interest information?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, as often as seems okay. I mean, if you think you're contacting somebody too much, you probably are. But I got to tell you, Brian, you bought a car, sounds like last night. I just bought a car about a month ago. And there's a point where, okay, I bought the damn car. Leave me the heck alone. And I know how to use it, and I know how to call you if I have a question. I think everybody's different, right? I think the critical component is to make certain that they know you care and they know you're interested in helping, even after they buy it. And maybe it would be good if they gave you a couple of referrals.
Okay. How frequently should we revisit our CRM processes, and who should lead this initiative?
So that's a really good question. I could talk about that for a while, and you all don't want me to, so don't hang up. I won't talk for a while. First of all, I don't know how often. More often than happens now, and I would suggest at least twice a year. So that's the first thing. And would once a quarter be too often? I don't know that it would. But at least twice a year, it's appropriate to go through and make darn sure, those processes are what you really believe in. So who leads it? Who runs your CRM? Who's that person? Because I think it's important, and I don't care if I've got a 20-store group that's all on the same CRM, or if I've just got a single rooftop store with one CRM. Somebody needs to be in charge of the CRM. Somebody has to be the main person, and that's a person that probably understands the tool the most, that understands the back-end settings the most, that's cultivated the best relationship with the CRM company's support department, etc., the most, right? And that person ought to lead it. But I don't think that person has to be, and sometimes, or even should be, the decision maker. I think if you don't have a general manager, general sales manager type of involvement, then you'll never have processes that the store completely believes in. So if I'm going to have a corporate process that everybody follows in my group, at a minimum, I want to make sure I sell that to every GM and sell it to him like he's a customer. Because if he or she isn't bought in, guess what they're not going to do? Execute on that process. So it takes somebody to organize that. And, one way to do that is to print them off on some giant piece of paper, poster-sized paper, and tape it to the conference room wall and go through it step by step. This is what happens on day 1 and day 2 and day 3, and then make sure that you really believe in it.
Okay. Our next question is kind of a multi-part question. What is the easiest way to review our processes? Should we use a process map and print off all the documents associated with the process?
Well, say it again.
Okay. It was, what is the easiest way to review our processes? Should we use a process map?
Okay, I just missed the first part. So, yeah, I think that is the easiest way. I think you want to, if you're going to really look at your processes with sincerity, and if you're really going to be thorough, then you better have the process itself printed off, and you better have every email template that is, and if appropriate, every phone script printed off also. So when I'm going through that process, it's not enough to go, I send day 3 reminder template. Well, I need to be looking at the day 3 reminder template so I can read it. You know, I might decide, you know, when I built that, I had a header and a footer and a picture, and now I don't want any of that stuff. I just want text or whatever. You've got to print off the process exactly the way your customer's going to see it.
All right. Well, Mark, it looks like that's our final question for the day. I'd like to thank you for taking the time to share all this information with our audience today. Everybody, this is Brian Ankney with Auto Success. I'd like to thank you for coming. And if there's somebody else in your dealership that you feel would benefit from this webinar, please send an email to myself or to Mark. Mark's email address is up on the screen. Everybody on the call right now will get an email from me thanking them for attending. So you are welcome to reach out to him or to me, and we'll get you a recording of this so you can share it with others in the dealership. If there's a topic that you'd like to have us cover in the future, please let us know. If there's a guest that you'd like us to invite, please let us know. And Mark, is there anything you'd like to share with our audience before we let them go?
No, I don't think so. I really am grateful for you all taking the time, and I hope you got some little nugget out of it. I mean, in 45 minutes, if you get one thing that even if you already knew it, now you're just going to focus on it a little more intently, then I think it was worth everybody's time. So I'm grateful, Brian, for you giving us the opportunity to talk to these good people, and I hope you got something out of it.
Great. Thank you, Mark, and I hope to have you back on here again soon. Everybody have a wonderful afternoon. Thanks for coming.
Thanks, everybody.